Whidbey Island Fair 2021. Back in the saddle again after COVID-19's many suppressions. We had a very successful time at the fair this year. Before we talk about the horses we were able to help, we'd like to thank the sponsors that helped make it all possible. Les Schwab was a major contributor, with both the Oak Harbor store and the Clinton store being involved. They had placed flags throughout the fairgrounds that said, "Doing the right thing matters." As I look at this phrase, I am reminded of how true it is and how appropriate for Les Schwab stores to display it. I have a book written by Les Schwab, and it's about the growth of their business and how to treat people, both employees and customers. They live up to the principles in this book, which is why they've grown so. They started out as a mom-and-pop business and have grown to over 500 stores because they treat people right. I bought my last set there, and now 8 years later, I'm going back for another set. This sign also fits in with the method of horsemanship that I demonstrate. Tom Dorrance, a respected horseman of the past, often said, "Make the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult when working with the horse." John Rarey, the original horse whisperer from the mid-1800s, often said, "Make much of him." The key to the success we had at the fair this year, and always, traces back to the counsel given by these two great horsemen of the past. We used a soft leather halter, as John Rarey recommended, and we then made the right thing easy and offered a lot of praise for doing that thing right. These principles make horse taming so easy, anyone can do it. Now let's talk about the people and the horses we were able to help. First we had Adam and a Mustang that had been raised in the wild that he had purchased. She was a 3-year-old mare and had a branded neck like all BLM Mustangs do. Adam had had her for about a month. When we got her, she was wearing a halter with a short rope attached to make her easier to catch. He had done a good job of gentling her, but she still was scared of people and would freak out when anyone tried to put their hands on her neck. After my first session with her, she could be touched all over, and it was easy to see that a bond had been started, and she was then used as an example of what could be done with soft methods. We will post more on this Mustang later. Next was Beth, a 4-H leader in charge of the horse activities at the fair. Her horse was a 3-year-old that had been started under saddle. She would occasionally buck and sometimes rear as she did at the fair. She would also throw her head around with a fine attitude when being handled. This horse seemed to be coming around nicely for the first 2 days, then she seemed to be going backwards and put on quite a show, standing on her back legs. She was also showing a lot of attitude on the 3rd day. That evening, after a lot of thought, I decided to lay her down to adjust her attitude, the way that John Rarey of old was known to do. Tom Dorrance also laid a horse down named Hondo. That was owned by Ray Hunt. That was giving him trouble in the show pen. After being laid down, the horse started winning blue ribbons, and Ray's kids started getting a good ride from Hondo. After this experience, Ray started spending more time with Tom and became his favorite pupil. Later, Ray started giving clinics and wrote a book on horsemanship himself. It had been over 25 years since I laid a horse down, but this seemed to be a good candidate. The next day I asked Beth what she thought, and she said, "Go ahead." So on the last day of the fair, I was planning on laying Beth's horse down. I thought it would also make a good show for the public to see. Except for one small head toss, Beth's horse acted very nice, so I let Beth know in the audience that I couldn't or wouldn't do it, as the horse was being too good. This served to remind me, and I pass it along to you, that bad horses and unbroke horses usually come around faster than horses that have experience with people. I don't try to break bad habits. I teach the horse proper conduct with humans, and they soon want to please. Both these horses responded very well. Thank you for being here, and join us again as we continue to post videos from Hallmark Horsemanship, showing the art of a horse tamer.